Hello, and welcome to this lesson where we're going to look at quadrilaterals. If you don't know what a quadrilateral is, you could take the first part of quadrilateral, quad, and think about what that means, or any other words that start with that. You might think of something like quad bike, and you'll work out that whenever we have quad, it means four of something. A quad bike has four wheels. A quadrilateral is just a shape with four sides. So a four-sided shape. Okay, so we're going to start by looking at how we would name our quadrilateral. So we remember we would name a triangle by going something like triangle ABC. However, when we do it with a quadrilateral, we don't draw any symbol at the front. We just choose our letters A, B, C, and D, and we follow the same direction. So if we start going this way, we continue through our letters that way. Or you could do it the other way. A, C, D, B. So we get an A, D, C, B. So we're going to look at a few different types of quadrilaterals. The first pair is the convex and concave quadrilateral. So the convex quadrilateral is where we have all angles pointing out, or on the outside of our quadrilateral. None of these angles are going to be greater than 180 degrees. And these two shapes here are examples of convex quadrilaterals. In opposition, we have concave or non-convex quadrilaterals. Here, we're going to have an angle which goes inside of our shape. So we have this one is going inside, because we could draw this dotted line here on the outside, so our angle goes in. And you can think of this as this here is a cave, and that's why it's called concave. We also have another cave here, because this angle here goes inside of the quadrilateral. So these two shapes here are examples of quadrilaterals which are concave. And here you're going to have an angle, so this angle here on the inside of the quadrilateral is bigger than 180 degrees. Because if you follow this line out, that's what 180 degrees is, and you've gone past it. Same thing here. This angle here, bigger than 180 degrees. So, convex have no angles on the inside. All the angles are on the outside. Whereas concave will have an angle on the inside of your quadrilateral. Next, we have regular and irregular quadrilaterals. So, a regular quadrilateral will have all sides and angles equal. So we pretty much just have the square being rotated around and around and around, because all the sides and all the angles are equal. Irregular ones have different sides and angles. So different length sides and angles. We could also have a regular triangle, which is going to be our equilateral triangle, where all the sides and angles are the same. We could have a regular pentagon, or sorry, this is a hexagon, where all the sides are the same. But then we could have an irregular triangle, something like that, or an irregular hexagon, something like that. So, regular means all sides are equal, all angles are equal, whereas irregular aren't all equal. Okay, so now we're going to look at different names of our quadrilaterals. Firstly is our rectangle. You've all seen rectangles by now. We tell what a rectangle is because it has four right angles. Every side is going to be 90 degrees. However, the lengths of the sides could be different. So as you can see, this side here doesn't have to equal this side here. We come along, we get to the square. A square is a quadrilateral where all the corners are right angles. So just like a rectangle, they equal 90 degrees, but it's a special one where all the sides are also the equal length. So all of these are 90 degrees, and each side is going to equal the length of the other sides. Next we have a parallelogram. So, as you can see in its name, parallel, it's going to be something to do with parallel lines. And you can look at it here. A parallelogram is where we have both pairs of opposite sides. So this side is opposite and they're parallel. This side here is opposite to this side here and they're parallel. So parallelogram has both pairs of opposite sides. These two and these two are parallel. Next we have a rhombus. I think of a rhombus as a squashed square. So a rhombus is a parallelogram because all opposite sides or pairs of opposite sides are parallel. So these are parallel, but it also has every side is the same length. Unlike a square, you're not going to have a right angle necessarily in here. So that's why I think of it as a pushed over square. Every side is the same length and every opposite side is parallel. So trapezium is a quadrilateral, this time with one pair of sides, opposite sides being parallel. However, it really is only one pair of opposite sides parallel. So a parallelogram, where we have both pairs of opposite sides are parallel, is not a trapezium. A trapezium will only have one pair of opposite sides being parallel. And a kite. So a kite is generally pretty easy to remember because it looks like what a kite would look like in the sky. So I'm sure you've all seen kites flying in the sky. Probably flown them yourselves. A kite is a quadrilateral where we have both pairs of adjacent sides, or two pairs of adjacent sides, and adjacent just means next to each other. So beside each other. Are going to be the same length. So this one here is the same length as this one. And this one here is the same length as this one. Okay, so now it's your chance to do some questions and to see what you've learnt. So of these two shapes, can you tell which one is convex? Okay, so convex is meaning all the vertices are on the outside. So we can see all these ones are on the outside, this one's on the inside of our quadrilateral. So in this case, we're going to have this quadrilateral, which is A, B, C, D. So for this question, we have to work out which shape is irregular. Okay, so we look here, we can see that this shape has every side being the same length. So that one is regular, so regular. However, this shape here, every side is a different length. So our irregular shape is F, E, H, G. You could write this in multiple different ways. Okay, so you need to choose which quadrilaterals are represented by this shape. So we can start off, we say it's not a rectangle because it doesn't have right-angled corners. It's also not a square because of that reason. It is a parallelogram because opposite sides are parallel. It isn't a rhombus because the different sides aren't all the same length. It also isn't a trapezium because it has two sets of opposite sides being parallel, not just one. And it's not a kite because adjacent sides, or sides next to each other, aren't the same length. So this here is a parallelogram. So now choose which names we could use for this shape. Alright, again not a rectangle or a square because no right angles in the corners. It's not a parallelogram because opposite sides aren't parallel. Or a rhombus. It's not a trapezium because it doesn't even have one set of opposite sides parallel. It is a kite because the pairs of adjacent sides are the same length. Finally, how would you describe this shape? Okay, it's not a rectangle or a square because it doesn't have right angles in its corners. It does have two pairs of opposite sides being parallel, so this one's parallel there, and these two are parallel, so it's a parallelogram. It also has each side being the same length. So we can see these here denote the sides are the same length, so it's also a rhombus. Is it a trapezium? It does have two pairs of opposite sides parallel, so that means it's not a trapezium. And is it a kite? Yes, because it has two pairs of adjacent sides, so these two sides are the same, and then these two sides are the same. All the sides are the same, that means every side is the same, which means it's going to have two pairs of adjacent sides. So it's also a kite. So this shape here was a parallelogram, a rhombus, and a kite. I hope that's made sense. If you have any questions, please bring them to me. Otherwise, I'll see you in class. Thank you.